What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is my top 10 and most anticipated films of 2024. So this video I was very much so looking forward to do with 2023 coming to an end. Right now I'm filming this December 16th of said year. And I was just looking at this future schedule and I was like, wow, there's potentially a lot of good films that will be coming out. Now, there are going to be, of course, films that I'm either not aware of at this time or films that will be added to the schedule, in which case, I will be more than happy to see those films. But as of right now, December 16th, 2023, this list is based on the films that I've seen on the schedule where it's like, okay, I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see this. So I'll be going from 5 honorable mentions to then 10 to 1 being the most anticipated film of 2024, and of course my opinion. And I say my opinion with this in mind. I'm very curious to see your guys' top 10 most anticipated films of 2024, especially because not just that it's going to be different from mine, but because I'm sure there will be certain ones that you as an individual will put on your list, and then it's like, oh wow, I didn't know that was coming out. Okay, now that it's on my radar, okay, I'm excited, or whatever the case may be. But that in particular is why I'm so excited. But guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So kicking things off with honorable mentions, we have Mufasa, The Lion King. There's 2 reasons why I'm excited for this movie, and it's the only 2 reasons, because when I look at live action Disney, reimagining, whatever the case may be, I haven't really liked any of them. Some of them are entertaining in the moment, but then, forgettable. Number one is that it's directed by Barry Jenkins, the director that did the masterpiece Moonlight and the very, very good If Beale Street Could Talk. The other thing is, and most importantly, I didn't know what the premise was, but now knowing the premise, I'm excited because apparently Barry Jenkins is taking heavy influence on The Godfather Part 2. This is going to be both a prequel and a sequel. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, so it is definitely going to be better than just And especially it's directed by an auteur. I'm in. I'm very curious to see what Barry Jenkins will bring to the table. And I genuinely think that this could be good. It could be good. Fingers crossed. Next honorable mention, we don't have a title just yet, but it is Untitled, Jordan Peele film. Jordan Peele is a director that I absolutely adored his work on Get Out. I thought Us was good. Nope. Thought it was just okay. So there has been kind of a diminishing returns with each film of his. Nonetheless, I still am very excited to see what he has to offer because he is a director that is very much so in tune with trying to create original projects. And for that, I admire and respect him a lot. So I'm very curious to see this. And apparently it's coming out on Christmas Day, a horror film on Christmas Day. So I'm curious to see what he's cooking up, so to speak. But yeah, that was an honorable mention. And then next up we have The Bike Riders. This was directed by Jeff Nichols. This was originally supposed to come out technically this year, in December of 2023, ironically. But because of the strike and everything, it got pushed back to 2024. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, it actually got bought by another studio. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. I'll talk about The Bike Riders in just a second, but I also wanted to mention that there are 2 films on it, like in my top 10 most anticipated films of 2024 list that were on my top 10 most anticipated films list of 2023. They got pushed back because of the strike, unfortunately. So I'll get into those in a minute. But yeah, The Bike Riders I'm excited for because I do respect Jeff Nichols quite a bit as a director. I like the cast. Jodie Comer, in particular, I think is a rising star. She is quite good. So I'm very curious to see that film. And I do hope The Bike Riders is good. I think it comes out in April, so can't wait. Next up, we have Orion and the Dark, which when I was looking this up, I read the premise and I was like, okay, it sounds interesting enough. But then I saw who it was written by, and I was like, oh, it's written by Charlie Kaufman. That's right, the same writer who did Synecdoche, New York, Being John Malkovich, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. He is one of the best writers working today. So him doing, if I'm not mistaken, it is a kids movie or a movie geared towards kids. Yeah, I'm in. I'm very curious to see how this movie is going to play out. I think it comes out in March. Unfortunately, I believe it's a Netflix film, so that's the shame of it. But still, I'm very curious to see what Charlie Kaufman's going to, bring to the table in terms of his writing of this project. So, very excited for Orion in the Dark, and that's why it's an honorable mention. And last honorable mention, we have Drive Away Dolls. This is not directed by the Coen brothers. It is actually solely directed by Ethan Coen. I'm still excited, though, because I do think that Ethan Coen and of course Joel Coen, they're both really talented directors. So I'm curious to see how he works on his own. I know The Tragedy of Macbeth, I think Ethan Coen directed solely. And that movie I respected quite a bit. I didn't love it. I didn't fully embrace it. But Driveway Dolls definitely seems like it will be, more in terms of his wheelhouse. So I'm very curious to see how it works. But yeah, that is my last honorable mention. So kicking things off with my number 10, we have Horizon, an American Saga. Technically, part 1 and 2. This is a project directed by Kevin Costner, who hasn't directed a film since Open Range. It's been 20 years. And Kevin Costner is a director that I have a lot of respect for, particularly his love for the Western genre. I mean, the fact that we're getting a big budget Western in 2024, that has me excited. Kevin Costner starring and directing it. And also just a lot of the backstory behind this project. Kevin Costner is putting, I think it was like $200 million, something outrageous. Like, he is funding all of this, all of part 1 and part 2 of this project. And it's pretty much caused a divorce from what I understand. So there's a lot of drama behind the scenes of this that makes it to where it's like this film pretty much has to be a success. If it doesn't, then Kevin Costner's kind of screwed. This is a film that also kind of messed around with the TV show Yellowstone, which is on hiatus because Kevin Costner started working on this. So I'm very curious about this film. First and foremost, because it's a Western, then again, because Kevin Costner is directing and hasn't directed since Open Range. I greatly respect the Open Range, so I'm very curious to see what Kevin Costner's going to do. And also, I like the idea of, a 2-part film saga coming out, both in the same year. So I hope it's good. I really do. Fingers crossed. And that's why it's my number 10. Next up, my number 9, we have Civil War, which is directed by Alex Garland. The same director did Ex Machina, Annihilation, and Men. Now, I mentioned earlier about how Jordan Peele, how each film of his has had diminishing returns, and that's definitely the case with Alex Garland. I think that, me personally, I think Ex Machina is a masterpiece. I think Annihilation is great. And Men, I thought, was really, really good, but not quite as great as the other two. So I can definitely see that this film, Civil War, might not necessarily be as good as those other entries, but the premise just sounds so intriguing, and I do think that the trailer also looked intriguing. So I'm curious about this film, I really am, and it is also an original idea, so it's nice that we're getting that from a writer-director who's proven himself to be quite talented, and also the cast looks really good. So, also an A24 war film, so I'm game, I'm sold. I am lock, stock, and sold. I'm just so excited for this film. That's why it's my number 9. Next up, we have number 8. This is a film that was originally supposed to come out in 2023, and that is Challengers. It is directed by Luca Guadagnino. I think Luca Guadagnino is a very talented director. I think Suspiria is a modern-day masterpiece. I think Call Me By Your Name also is a modern-day masterpiece, and I think that Bones and All is really, really underappreciated. I think that he's such a great director. He knows how to have all this world building, choosing the perfect cast, and, really getting the most out of his actors. I'm very excited for Challengers. I really am. It seems like it will be a challenge for the actors, and I think that it will be a complex film. So I'm very excited. I believe it comes out in April, so I hope it still will be coming out in 2024. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I'm so pumped for this film, and that's why it's my number 8. Next up, at number 7, this is a film when I first heard that it was coming out, I was like, is it actually going to come out? And apparently it actually is. But my number 7 is Gladiator 2. This is directed by Ridley Scott, the same director did the first Gladiator. And I want to say this. This is a film that I am scared for. I really am. I am terrified because Gladiator was like lightning in a bottle. It was a film that came out at the right time and, was put in the right hands of the cast and crew. 24 years later, I mean, it almost seems like too little too late, but at the same time, I'm also very curious because the cast seems really good. I mean, Denzel Washington is back in a Ridley Scott film, but again, Ridley Scott is so hit or miss these days, so I'm like, is this going to be really good or is this going to be really bad? I don't know. Very curious, though. This is one of those films where if someone says that they are dreading to see this film, or saying that they're really pumped, I see both perspectives because this is a film that could go either way. There is some middle ground, of course, as we saw with Napoleon. That was a film that was like very middle of the road, but I don't know. Something about this film also has me saying it could be good. It could be something special, but it also could be a film that suffers from sequelitis. So only time will tell. I believe it comes out in November, so fingers crossed, fingers crossed. But yeah, that was my number 7. Next up, my number 6. This was a film that, similar to Challengers, was originally supposed to come out in this year, 2023, and that is Dune, Part 2. This is a Denis Villeneuve film. Same director did Prisoners, the first Dune, Sicario, Enemy, Blade Runner 2049. He is one of the best directors working today, in my personal opinion. I loved Dune. I thought Dune worked really, really well on its own, and I was really pumped for, Part 2. But it getting pushed back, I look at it as it's a shame. It really is, especially since I know that originally it was supposed to come out in November of 2023, and that was to set up for it being an award season contender. But it coming out in March, I don't know if it's going to be as much of an awards contender, but the quality of the film, I guess, will say a lot about if it will be able to have long legs heading into the award season of the following year. But either way, I'm excited. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. I didn't read the book, so I have no clue what's going to happen next, but I will definitely be there day one. Next up, we get into the top five. Starting that off, we have my number 5, which is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. George Miller is back. He's the same director that, of course, did Mad Max Fury Road, which is one of my favorite action films of all time, and just favorite films of all time. I love Mad Max Fury Road. I really, really greatly admire it. So, similar to Gladiator 2, I think that this could go either way. This could be like a sequel that actually lives up to its predecessor, or it could be a film that is just like, okay, whatever. I constantly go back and forth on if I'm really excited for Furiosa or if I am just like, oh, come on, is this going to potentially, be a diminishing law of returns? I mean, I'm scared, but I'm also excited for this film. The trailer helped out, I will say. Like, it does seem like it's going to be emulating the similar style of Mad Max Fury Road. I will say I have heard complaints about the CGI of Furiosa in the trailer, but I will also say, I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, I mean, there is a lot of compression, so I don't know. I haven't seen the Furiosa trailer in a theater, so I can't 100% talk about the trailer, but I will say that the premise, the cast, having Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, I don't know. It could be good. It could be good, and having a lot of the same, crew members behind the scenes working on this, it could be good. I am fingers crossed. I'm hoping that this is really good, and yeah, that's why Furiosa, Mad Max Saga is my number 5. Next up, at number 4, I have no clue what this film is about, and that is Kind of Kindness. It is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, the same director that did Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Lobster, The Favorite, and Poor Things, which as of the filming of this video, I have not seen just yet, but I am so pumped to watch it. I've actually recently finally have seen all of Lanthimos' films except for Poor Things, and I was honestly going to film my ranking of his work, but then I heard about this film that was going to be coming out in 2024, so I was like, okay, I'm going to hold the ranking until I watch Kind of Kindness whenever it comes out in 2024. All I know is it's directed by him and it stars Emma Stone. That's enough. That's all I need to know. I'm super pumped for this film, and I'm hoping it's good. That's why it's my number 4. Next up, my number 3. I heard a little bit about this film, but I still have no clue what this is about. And my number 3 is Megalopolis, which is directed by Francis Ford Coppola. That's right, Francis Ford Coppola. He hasn't directed a film in I don't even know how long. It's been a long time. This is a director I greatly admire. I love Godfather 1, 2. The Conversationist is a really underappreciated film these days. He's just Apocalypse Now. He just is such a talented director. So I'm very curious to see what he's going to be bringing to the table with this film. And I think that this probably, if all goes well, will be an awards contender for the following year. Because, I mean, it's Francis Ford Coppola. How often can we say we get a Francis Ford Coppola film? So I'm very much so looking forward to this film, and that's why it's my number 3. Next up, my number 2, we have Mickey 17, which is directed by Bong Joon-ho, the director of Parasite, aka the Academy Award-winning Parasite. Bong Joon-ho is a director that I greatly admire. I think he is very, very talented. He also stars Robert Pattinson, who is one of my favorite actors working today. So that 1-2 punch, 1-2-3 punch. It is also an original story that I have no clue what it's about, but I just know that it's not a sequel, remake, prequel. It's none of that. It is an original property. So that, combined with the director, combined with the lead actor, has me pretty pumped for this film. That's why it's my number 2. Next up, my number 1. As of the filming of this video, my number 1 is going to be going head-to-head with the untitled Jordan Peele film. 2 horror films going back-to-back, duking it out on Christmas Day. I hope that neither of these films like budge. I hope that both of these films stick with their dates. And you probably guessed that. My number one is Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers. So I'm a huge fan of Robert Eggers. I think that The Lighthouse is a masterpiece. I think The Witch is a masterpiece. And The Northman, I rewatched recently, and I don't love it as much as I used to when I saw it in theaters and on 4K. But I still think that it is quite a good film. I'm very curious to see what Nosferatu is going to be. I hope that it's really good. As the film in this video, haven't seen the original just yet, the original Nosferatu, but because this film's coming out, I do plan on finally watching it. But I'm just very excited, man, to see a Robert Eggers horror film. And on Christmas Day, that's going to be something to behold. And I really, like I said, I really want to emphasize this. I really do hope that the Jordan Peele horror film and Nosferatu, that they both are actually going to be playing on Christmas Day, because that's going to be something, man. That's going to be I'm excited. But yeah, guys, that is my top 10 most anticipated films of 2024. Let me know again. I really want to know your guys' top 10 most anticipated films of 2024 in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, follow me down Letterboxd, and I will catch you guys later.